Hey guys, it's me, Heady NJ, editor Dan Ulloa. I'm doing a new podcast show here, the Heady Chronicle. So this is an episode now of that show. Welcome. I'm your host. This is my office here in the Essex County suburbs, North Jersey. So, you know, we're having some fun doing this show. People like it. I'm turning up my game. I got my fuzzy mic here, for example. So, you know, I thought it'd be like an interesting thing to explore, talking to people. It's always interesting as like a writer, you're sitting there typing versus gesturing here, smiling here, trying to look good for the camera. So yeah, we have a lot of things going on in the news. Give you guys like a little update of things going on. Naturally we are waiting on like the U.S. Attorney General Bondi make some progress of cannabis legalization under President Donald Trump. He endorsed Schedule 3, so it's something, it's progress. We're always for descheduling, where you take cannabis, marijuana off the schedule of controlled substances. So we always thought that would be like a better idea to make like the market like all the more prosperous to really ensure justice. So, it's an interesting thing to do, but we're waiting on that, So we also seem, but the thing is, like, when he announced it, it seemed like a distraction from, like, the release of these Epstein files with the, like, the billionaire financier, Wall Street tycoon Jeffrey Epstein, who was, like, raping children. It's pretty bad. And so they got these files that have been partially released on the, like, the U.S. Justice Department. So Trump is in a lot of them, along with the former English prince, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. So it's really funny. I had a tip, and then I found that we had a Jersey City dispensary owner, Benny Shabtai, who's also in the files. He was friends with Epstein. For example, he's a part owner of the Downtown Flower dispensary on the Newark Pedestrian Plaza. So it's a fun thing, or difficult really to find such a thing, but it doesn't seem like they were like best friends. Like Trump and Epstein were like bigger friends. Like Benny, like he did text him like LOL, are you, with like an R and a U versus like spelling it things out like English proper. That's difficult, overall, we always got news about, like, Jersey stories. There's always more dispensaries, more brands, products coming along. It's a hell of a thing to watch. New places opening. We got towns progressing. We got a lot of, like, in certain cities. And it's difficult because I kind of love everybody, who's, like, a little guy. And then it's a fight of, like, who's, like, the littler guy. It's, like, really hard, sometimes when it's just, like, a fucking knife fight out there for some of our friends out there, and it's difficult, but we're still getting products, the flower price is coming down bit by bit, we're seeing like very affordable prices. A lot of the large MSOs, multi-state operators, they're able to put out like a cheap product, and like the normies like that, our faithful always like quality cannabis products in contrast, so that's always like a hell of a thing to figure out, like the normies are like, I guess like some of them liked like the prices of smoke shops. That's always like a big thing, there's a lot of questions of quality around smoke shops, bodega weed, so we're watching how that plays out, so we'll see. We're always working on like home legalization of cannabis, and descheduling, nationwide, so we make progress bit by bit. We're getting more sponsors on like home grow. For example, we had Molly Ann Farms like did a shout out to home grow at their like market promo. In February it was fun. I went there and covered that speech. So that's like something, because they were always saying like the market doesn't like home grow, and this is the market liking home grow, or dispensary owners endorsing home grow. We have like a large coalition here in Jersey, headed by Andrea Rabel, Chris Goldstein, Kristen Godey, Tricom Analytical. So we're making progress bit by bit, but these things are hard. But like we have made a lot of progress here in Jersey. with our market. For example, we've always been for like a diverse, inclusive, market with a lot of locals, a lot of female, a lot of minority business owners, a lot of Hispanic business owners. It's always a big thing of me being a first generation Peruvian. It's always an interesting issue. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that or expect that. That's alright. So we got a lot of things going on, here in the market, and, it's really like a great time. Like, we're making progress bit by bit. We got a governor, Governor Cheryl, had her budget address yesterday, didn't really mention cannabis, but she also didn't seem to hate weed. So, we'll see what happens, like, there, I've heard a lot of talk of, like, rumbling and, like, new issues with, like, a new chair, but I don't know what's going on, It's always, like, funny when sometimes they like you less as like a journalist, versus advocates. That's always like an interesting compare and contrast. The nature of my long experience in cannabis in Jersey, in Trenton, actually. But yeah, there's a lot of progress being made with local entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and we want to celebrate that, and it's Women's History Month. So what better time to do that, So like, I think this is like a great time to do this. So this Saturday, March 14th, we want people to come to our Women and NJ Cannabis show and party at the Lobby Nightclub. It's in Elizabeth. It's off Route 1 by Newark Airport. It's a hella chiller place. I think you're going to like it, We want to make sure, everyone has a good time at the place, under, the Heady NJ banner. So, expect some surprises once you come in. It's going to be a great bar, food, and DJ. Make it a great party, yeah. So plus I'm going to host an episode of the show. We're going to be talking, I'm going to moderate a panel that time. So we're going to have Camp Paramin Buttercake CEO Marta Figaro, pioneer of illegal infused edibles here in Jersey. For example, we're also going to have Bud to Bloom CEO, Ariel Mizrahi. It's going to be like really good to hear her experience as a woman in a town that's not like one of these towns like Jersey City, for example, where it's like a big liberal city and they got like 1 million of them. So very different out there. We have Wednesday Married, the Quality Cannabis Dispensary Director, Community Engagement. Longtime member of the community, legacy to legal is always fun that way. And then we're going to have Ken Coverage, CEO Michelle Santos, talking about her experience. There, working on insurance issues and along with like, legal issues in the market and stuff with minorities for marijuana, medical marijuana, M4MM of New Jersey. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about how it's been for women in the market, all parts of the industry and community throughout Jersey. So we'll have them talking about their experiences, in this new legal era in the Great Garden State. So looking forward to having like a good time there. Should be interesting. For example, we got a lot of like people working with us, helping us out. We're really happy for our collaborator, Bazooka Dispensary of Elizabeth, along with our many sponsors like Garden Greens Dispensary in Jersey City. We got Highly Original, new brand by my boy TJ, Mojo Botanica, my good friend Aslan of Jersey Smooth, they got great vapes. We got Smokies edibles, we reviewed them before. It's a women-owned brand from like elsewhere. It's like a really cool, chill company. Very solid edibles. They got a great like lemon one. It was like very interesting, like lemonade flavor. Getting you high. It was like really fun. We got Canada Coverage, helping with insurance with companies in the legal industry. It's hard to be an entrepreneur in this industry. We're all like pioneers, fighting bit by bit, blazing a trail. It's intense. It's hella intense, but it's a new era. None of this was possible like 20 years ago when I was in college. When some of my friend was like, "Oh yeah, we could have legal weed here in the East." I'm like, "What?" Now here we are, and it's great. We're making great progress. So across here, not only here in Jersey, but across the United States, other like state legal markets. We have our friends across the river in New York. They passed their bill after ours. Their market's very interesting. Being New York City, New York State. we talk about them. They seem to have like a very strong like underground legacy. Establishment there. They've been also fighting like MSOs, making progress and dealing with lawsuits. I think we've been actually making like more progress with like less lawsuits. We've been like steadier. They go like here and crash and go up and crash and up. So, we're like the slow and steady winning the race, knock on wood. So, we got Pennsylvania. Oh my God. Pennsylvania every year since I've been doing this, people are like, it's going to go legal there. And it never does. They got a Republican Senate in their legislature. It's really difficult. But the governor likes it, Josh Shapiro. We'll see what happens out there. It's difficult, but yeah, we want people coming to our event and hope you like this little show here we're doing. Because, we want to try to think of doing more of these, see what the people want, see how things are working, how we can survive and thrive in this new legal era of cannabis legalization. So, I think that's about it, guys. Yeah, I hope you have a good day. Happy Wednesday. It's a warm day here in Jersey, so take care.